Yeah, so your talent avatar is really thinking through, who do you need? What needs to get done is the start of that. So what does this person need to accomplish on behalf of the organization? And from there, you walk out what skills and experience are needed. What would we need to pay? What would get this person excited about a position with us or this role? And where do they live in the marketplace? All of that is part of that talent avatar. So it's not just a job description. It really is laying out, who is this person and where do they exist? And how do I get them to know about my company and the role we need to fill? And then once you understand that, and we'll talk about this as well today, you're then going to define, how do you advertise and reach out and network to find that person. So those are kind of the pieces of that puzzle. Later on, I'll do other noontime knowledges where we then dig into laying out the vetting process. And I say vetting process, not just interview process. So what do you need to vet in interview, in skills assessments, in whatever pieces of the puzzle you put together to find out, does this person have the knowledge and experience I need? And are they a fit for our team? Then you execute. So on the execute step, I work with clients really on, what is my tech stack? What is my system that's going to help me efficiently gather all of these options, screen them, and communicate to them and to the team through the vetting process. Then you narrow and negotiate. You finalize, like, who are my top candidates? Who do I want to offer the job to? And what does that offer need to look like to get them to say yes? And then the transition. And that's where you're walking through onboarding and integrating. So how do I get somebody set up for success and started well with the company? So those are different pieces of the process we'll go through later on. But today we're going to talk about the talent avatar and then advertising and reaching out. And I'm going to try to monitor the chat. Oh, it's in preview mode. Yeah, it's my slides are just PDFs, so I didn't do a slide mode today. Sorry. So let's talk about developing the talent avatar. I'm going to pull this over. Hopefully, it's going to let me, Let me try it this way. There we go. So here's where the pieces that you want to kind of, it's just a general checklist to start with of things you want to consider when you're determining who you need for a position. So in developing the job description, you want to really be able to summarize the position in 2 to 3 sentences. And in that summary, you want to talk about who this person is fundamentally, how they sit in the organization, and what they do for the organization. That's sort of what you're figuring out in that summary. Areas of responsibility, oversight, and deliverables. What are they trying? What's their end goal? The key duties and responsibilities then are what you need to really look at. So what does this person need to get done daily, weekly, or during phase 1, during their first year? What is the core tactical duties of the role? From there, in order for someone to be successful with those duties, what essential qualifications do they need to have? So really think about what education really is needed for this position. What skills should this person be able to showcase? What experience? Do they need to have a track record that's proven in this area so they can hit the ground running? Or is this something you can train on if they have other skill sets? So those are the different things to think about, and then quantify that. So proven success in X number of years, degree in, whatever level you're deciding that they need to have that education in, and specialty in. So that's really the essential qualifications part. And then there's preferred qualifications, because you need those core essential duties, but the preferred are really how you narrow into finalists. So the people who are maybe going to get the job or have an edge over other candidates also have XYZ. So what is that additional experience? What are those additional skills? What is the additional education, language, right? They speak multiple languages, maybe. I mean, anything, any software language. You know, if I need a controller and I need them to have experience in implementing an ERP system, then the preferred would be, and they have knowledge in the ERP system I actually use. So maybe if they know other ERP systems, that's a transferable skill. But if they know the one I use, that gives them an edge over the other candidates. So that's what that preferred is. Something I always add to job descriptions that I don't see other organizations do often is success attributes. And these are the soft skills. So what will help this person be successful in their role, successful with their team, or successful in your organization? And those are terms like able to work autonomously, creative problem solver, you know, systems thinker. If you're a startup, you want someone that's flexible and entrepreneurial. You know, sometimes if you have somebody who needs a lot of structure, you're not going to be able to provide that as a startup, potentially. And so you've got to think through those things. Those success attributes become both things that you screen for in your vetting process, and also items that you might review or evaluate someone on, in addition to the deliverables and metrics that they're trying to get done for their job. But you're also making sure they continue to fit, lean in, match the values of your organization, and have potential. That's really what success factors define, is the potential. You want to think about any physical requirements or environmental considerations. So if somebody needs to be standing all day long, if somebody needs to be on site in a lab, let's say, if there's opportunity to flex with work from home because they don't have to be on site, think about what's required in terms of environment and physicality for the position. Do they need to be able to lift 50 pounds? All of those things need to be defined, and they have to be put out front and talked about to make sure the person's a fit. And then what are the communication channels and technical tools used? So are you guys using Microsoft 365? Are you using Teams? How do you connect in? How do you talk to each other? How do you work with each other? Let's say you need somebody to understand the project management software you use, or they've used Asana before. So think about all of that, and what do you want to make sure they know or understand or can kind of jump into and hit the ground with. Any questions on that, defining the role? No? Okay, good. So, and you want to also now think about, outside of the job description, what's your pitch to the candidate? Why would someone join your organization? Why would someone get excited about the role? And that someone is the right someone. So you want to be really honest and authentic about what the perks are, because to some people, they may not be perks. They may not be a fit, and that's okay. You want to attract the right person. So what is your elevator pitch of your company, your technology, and how you fit in the marketplace? What are the weekly hours required? Is this full-time? Is this part-time? Are you flexible? Is there some work from home flex, right? In terms of schedule, is there flexibility, or are there certain days and hours you really need someone to be available? Talk about that up front. Define compensation. Is it hourly? Is it salaried? What is that base pay? What is the other kicks to the compensation? Are there bonuses, equity, deferred compensation, which a lot of startups use, saying, you know, come on board, get the work done now, and once we hit funding, you'll be compensated for the time you've already spent. what is your actual budget? And that's really something to work with Jody on to figure out. And then with success in their duties, what is the opportunity with the company? How do they grow? The career doesn't, that growth doesn't have to be a ladder either. It doesn't mean you're a staff member and then you're a manager and then you're director. You can have a really flat organization, and growth can be additional responsibility. It can be continuous learning. It can be, lots of different things, just depending on how you're going to define it. But if you want someone who's looking for a long-term position, you want to hang a carrot out of long-term opportunity. And if it's just project-based, then you don't have to worry about that as much, but it's something to think about. And then what's the company vision? What's the culture? What's the market opportunity? And what benefits, perks, or anything else do you want to highlight? What are any other sell points you can pull out and put up front? Because that's going to be part of your job advertising. And then where you find someone like this. So now that you've laid out who this person is, what you can offer that might get them excited, you now want to think about the networks to use to find this person. So is it through universities, trade schools? Are they a technical person? What schools have these programs or expertise areas that you need to target? What companies have people with that expertise? There can be ways on LinkedIn to search out certain companies and then find people with those titles that have those expertise. What are some startup or tech hubs or job boards? So there's lots of coder meetups that you might want to get into. And let's say if you need a software developer, Angels List is an entrepreneurial startup job board that you might want to post to. So think about those things. And then networks, associations, or licensure lists. So if I'm looking for a CPA, how do I get a hold of a CPA licensure list and send out an email? Or how do I join an association or group that has, XYZ engineers within it? Let's say you're a mining company. Get into those mining and engineering associations, right? And then where else do I need to spread the word on social media? So those are different ways to think through where to network. Any questions on that? And real quick, I'll show you guys a job description worksheet. And I can always share these templates with you. If you meet with me, I'll get you a Word doc so you can fill it out yourself. But this is essentially, company, position, department, division, FLSA. I think we talked a little bit about that in my last Noontime Knowledge, but that's an HR term of how they are categorized as an employee with you. Who reports to them, who they report to, and where they report to their job, where the location is. This is that 2 to 3 sentence position summary, key duties and responsibilities that we talked about, essential and desirable qualifications, the success attributes that you define. And then when you onboard somebody, you want to get them to sign off on this job description so they really understand their role. This is a communication tool between you guys, and you're laying out your expectations of the job out front. This is also an evaluation tool. So when you're coaching, when you're evaluating, when you're doing annual reviews, you should be checking in with the job description as how you're guiding what you're measuring about what they're doing. So hopefully that is helpful. And then let's quick touch on advertising and outreach. So here, one of the things that a lot of companies, particularly startups, don't think about is that they're employers. So I always call companies employers, and people say to me, no, I've had lots of mentors say to me, no owners think that they're employers. They think that they're companies, and they think that they're a product or a service. But you are an employer as well. And so what do you look like in the marketplace as an employer? You're marketing your product, you're marketing your service, How do you market your organization? So it's something to think about. What are you branded like on Glassdoor, on LinkedIn, on Indeed? If people are looking up your organization, what do you look like out there in the market? What do you look like on Google? What do you look like on social media? So think about those different things. On social media, there are places to, in terms of branding, you're thinking about it. You're adding product content, you're adding service content, let's say. You also want to think about maybe highlighting certain employees. So when you're thinking about press releases, is there stuff you can talk about the great team you already have, about your founders, about the culture of the company? Share trends around expertise areas. Set yourself up in terms of credibility and expertise so that really great people want to work with really smart, great people. Showcase your culture, your values, talk about benefits and perks. If you need people like developers, let's say, get out there and show that you guys are smart in terms of technology and software. Story tell the city you're in. So if you need somebody to locate with you on your social media, you should be talking about how proud you are to be located where you are. What kind of community are you a part of? What philanthropic things do you guys participate in as an organization? Associations you belong to, strategic partners, what makes you stand out in your community? So these are all things potential employees are looking at. Not all employees, but the ones that are really strategic about their career and really good at what they do, that's what they're looking at. So think about all of that branding. Other places to have employee profiles outside of LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Glassdoor is one, and I have a link on here about that, and then Google My Business. And so Google has both your business page, they also have a Google Jobs page that gathers everything. And the branding from your Google My Business is part of the branding for Google Jobs. So think about all of that. Your career site. So if you have a website and you're starting to really scale and add teams, is there a careers page on there? How do you talk about the opportunities available to your teams? How do you talk about what you're hiring for? How do you talk about what life is like as an employee with your organization? That should be part of your website as well. If you have a URL link and a website for career pages, it helps you to gather the applications in one place. So you can use that link then if you advertise on LinkedIn, instead of you having to go out to LinkedIn to find those applicants, send them through a URL to one place so that everything's coming to you in one area instead of going to, if you post in 5 different places, you don't want to be chasing applications in 5 different places. And there's some technology stuff we can help you with. So job boards, we're talking about advertising and posting on job boards. So Indeed, I'm sure everybody's familiar with Indeed. It's the biggest out there. You're going to get the most quantity of applications from Indeed, but not always the most quality. So it really depends on the type of role you're trying to fill, how specific you are in your posting about who you need. And there's some ways that you can set up screening questions so it kicks people out if they're not there yet for you. And that'll help you deal with the volume or quantity that might come through Indeed. LinkedIn. LinkedIn is really a great place to both advertise, but also search out profiles that you're looking for, keywords, places they work, job titles. These are ways that you can then start in-mailing through LinkedIn some proactive recruitment rather than just waiting, kind of what I call the post and pray. Put out a job post and pray candidates apply to it, right? So you can be a little bit more proactive here. ZipRecruiter's another job board. They have an algorithm that messages candidates that they think fits your job post. So sometimes you get applicants there that didn't know they applied to your job. So it's something to be aware of. and think about as you're reaching out to people there. You can post to multiple locations to attract people for relocation. ZipRecruiter also highlights pay and benefits fields quite a bit. So on the candidate side, when candidates are searching for a job, they're using those search fields. So that's another thing to think about, particularly on ZipRecruiter and Indeed. If you don't fill in salary, you will be not found if a candidate's searching for salary. Your job won't even come up. So all of those fields are really important to fill in if you can. And again, other job posting places, Glassdoor, Facebook, jobs on Google. Handshake is a service through the universities. So this is where universities have their students graduating and alumni look for jobs. And so if you interact with the U of A, they're going to always say, put your job on Handshake rather than have them share it around for you. So that's something to think about. The further people get away from graduation, the less candidates are interacting on there. So this would be I really use Handshake for really people who are close to academia, are either still in school, newer, or ready. Go ahead, Vinod.
Hi, Devon. Thank you for this presentation. This is so timely. I was previously checking to post job requirement on the U of A's Handshake, but somehow I was unable to make that post. Does that require any payment? Do we need to pay in order to post in Handshake, or how does that work?
It is free, but you have to be approved. So there's times I've made lots of employer profiles for my different clients, and I'll then like email career services or the college, like say College of Engineering, and say, hey, my client just put a profile on Handshake and they haven't been approved yet. What's going on? And they can kind of nudge the career services department to approve you. Okay. But you can choose all kinds of universities. Oftentimes I find great people, particularly in engineering in New Mexico, that are really open to Arizona as well. And I find those New Mexico universities approve employers pretty quickly, faster than U of A. So sometimes at U of A, you have to nudge them a little, but that's might be what's holding it up.
Okay, so apart from this, there are no any other minimum requirements, right? So like you need to have this much revenue in your company, like this, you need to have this many employees. Are there any other like minimum requirements to be approved for Handshake?
No, I think that they want to see a website.
Okay.
I know that they're going to look for that to kind of make sure that you're real. The big thing for the gatekeepers at the universities is they don't want random recruiters or people just gathering resumes that don't have real jobs for their people. So they're going to look at your website. Maybe I know with another employer, they ask for their career page on their website. Some universities will do that, some won't. So they have different requirements like that. So everything you can fill out is good. It's also a little tricky. It's not very user-friendly. So then you have to go back in, you have to see what colleges were approved, and then you have to take them and check them off to get your job posted. And it's in a couple different places and screens. So it's not the easiest system to use. I've done a lot of work. I spent some time just emailing through Handshake too, so you can search out candidates as well and email them. But it took a lot of time and I got 0 to no response.
Okay.
So, the further you get from graduation, the harder it is. And some universities, they're more active in it than others. It's not always a slam dunk with Handshake.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah. You also want to think about associations and membership organizations. So, I work with an architecture firm in town, and we're, really active with the association for architects and advertise on there all the time, right? So different things to think about, and then licensure lists. And always, we can brainstorm together. If you've got a really specific position, we can start saying, where would this person live? Where do you need to reach out? Where do you need to advertise? And we can look at all of that. And like Vinod was saying, advertising can be free. And then you can also have some paid advertising. And just like with social media, you can have organic posting and then you can have paid. Indeed, you pay per click. LinkedIn has some pay per click. They also have big membership seats you can buy that then brand and pay for the ads to be in front of people in a different way. So there's different ways to leverage that paid posting as well. So finally, and I'm hopefully not getting too long here, but we'll talk about then what do you say? So you need to post a job ad, right? So what should you say to attract the right candidate? How should you say it and where should you say it? So we talked about a lot of the where should you say it, right? The different job posting pieces. You know, you've created this talent avatar, you've finalized a job description, define your organization. So at the top of your job ad, what's your pitch? What's your elevator pitch of who you guys are? How do you fit into the market? What problem are you solving? What's going to get somebody really excited? If you're solving something in a really cool way, smart people get excited about that. And if you have that right at the top, they keep reading. Call out the position. 1 to 2 sentences, the role, the title, the key focus, how it fits into the organization. Show them what this position does for your organization. Who's the best candidate? So a superstar will have this skill, this experience, this passion. What are those success factors that you define? Really incredible people do well with us that have X, Y, Z. Share the why. Why would someone have a passion connection to this? Why would someone want to take it because of the career path or the benefits or the perks? Make sure you're selling it. And then how you should say it, again, we talked about sponsored and free job postings and advertisements. Email lists. So I know I've helped a couple startup companies at UACI even get mentors through emailing my network through constant contact. So what email lists can you leverage to network? What social media can you use? And that can be LinkedIn as well. InMail, again, is that LinkedIn emailing outreach. And then, you know, get creative. I have a client who needs engineers and their biggest competition for that talent is SpaceX. And they're here in Tucson. It's this little client. And so they bought a billboard in front of the SpaceX building and talked about, aren't you sick of working so much? Work for us because we have work-life balance. So there's different ways to get eyeballs and to get in front of people. Now, I don't have the data on how that worked, but they thought they would give it a try to get some attention and see what happened. There's also radio, newspaper, you know, there's some old school ways to look at it too, depending on what you're looking for. Most of the work I do in my headhunting and, recruitment is digital. But, you know, there's always some other ways to try it out and see what happens. And so again, here's the network channels and pipelines, right? What job boards have the eyeballs that you want looking at it? Where should you invest in the paid ads? What strategic partners should you be networking with? Associations? Are there people on your advisory board or in your mentorship group that have the kind of networks you want to leverage? Get that job out to them. Great customers also sell your company really well. So if you've got customers that are so excited about what you're doing, tell them about openings. They can sell it to their family and friends. You never know who they know. And then search out those already doing the job and directly message them. So those are kind of the different tactics we use in recruiting to get in front of as many